Welcome. This is my review of John Wick 4. And I'm going to start out with no spoilers, and then later in the video, I'll get into spoiler territory a little bit. So, for those of you who don't know, John Wick is a franchise that is amazing. If you haven't seen it, you should start watching it. And it has spawned 4 films. It's amazing to me that they ever got past one. I mean, not really, because the first one's so amazing, but it's just a miracle that it was such a hit that they were able to make 4 movies, and now they're going to make a spin-off film about the Continental, which is the hotel. There's multiple hotels across the globe. The Continentals, plural I should say, are a place for hitmen and women to go to post up, to hang out before they conduct their business. And the one cardinal rule of the Continentals is that you cannot conduct business, i.e. killing people, on Continental grounds. Spoilers for the previous 3 films, by the way, because this is a review of the 4th one. John Wick broke the rule and killed someone in the second movie on Continental grounds, who deserved it. And since then has been dealing with the repercussions of those actions. That was in the second film. In the end of the third film, they were coming after him, and he basically had to run, and ended up with the Bowery King, who is amazing, by the way. The Bowery King is one of my favorite characters, and he has some of the best lines in this movie. He is so iconic. It is awesome. And it's just cool because, for those of you who don't know, the Bowery King and Keanu Reeves, or John Wick, the main character, were in The Matrix together. It's a very similar relationship to the one they have in The Matrix, which I really like. But yeah, so this movie is just amazing. The scale and the size of this movie is so much bigger than the other ones, and that's almost insane to say, because the other ones have gone to so many places that you wonder, how can they step it up from here? And if you like John Wick for the action, this is the best one by far. I personally don't think it's the best film of all of them, but if you're purely in it for the insane choreographed stunts and action sequences, because it really is impressive. There's not a lot of CGI here. It's almost completely done with real actors, actresses doing stunts, as well as stuntmen and things like that. Stand-ins, obviously it's not always the actors falling down flights of stairs and being thrown into buses and things like that, but they do a lot of practical effects in these movies, and in this one, it's dialed up to 11. It is insane. So this movie is 2 hours and 48 minutes, I think. It is the longest one by far, but to me, it didn't feel that way. My girlfriend, she said for her it felt like it was 2 hours and 48 minutes because these long, drawn-out action sequences got a little tiresome to her. She didn't enjoy that. She loves John Wick for the story. She said, the first one is her favorite by far, and I would have to agree. The first one is still my favorite because of the story that it builds, but this movie is my second favorite, for sure, without a doubt. It dials up everything I like about John Wick with the action to 11. It's crazy. So going into this film, I also had a thought in my head of what weird thing is John Wick gonna kill someone with going into this movie, because in each movie, or not necessarily kill someone, but just fight someone using, but he usually does end up killing them. In each movie, he progressively goes through these phases of using something absurd to kill someone, or fight someone, I should say. In the first movie, I don't think there's anything crazy that he kills someone with, but there is a moment where a lady breaks into his room and breaks the rules of the Continental, trying to kill him, and he fights her using a sling. His arm is in a sling, and he unwraps it and uses it to tie her up and choke her out, and he uses it to dodge her attacks, and it's super cool. Really unique fight sequence, just kind of displaying John Wick's capabilities to fight people. And then in the second movie, we get a callback to the first movie where the Russian mob boss says I once saw him kill 3 men in the bar with a pencil. And in the second movie, he kills some dudes with a pencil, and it's a super cool little sequence where he's fighting these dudes, and and he takes them all out with a pencil. And then in the third movie, it's like right at the beginning of the movie, he's in a library and someone comes up to him trying to kill him. It's named Ernest, and he kills him using a book. Nothing but a book. The other guy has like a knife, and John Wick like defends with a book, and then he stuffs the book in his mouth and shoves his hand up against it and like breaks the guy's jaw. He like puts the book standing like upright on a table and slams the guy's head over it, and it's a really thick, like hefty book, and he snaps his neck on the book and kills him. And then in this movie, there's yet another thing that he uses to kill someone that is just absurd. And I think a lot of you will know when you get to that part. You'll be like, that's ridiculous. But it's ridiculous in a good way. Like, it's just fun. It's dumb, fun action, and it's somewhat believable. Obviously, at this point, we're into the realm of like John Wick fighting the world. It's everyone and like anyone and everyone is coming after John Wick, and he just kills everyone, which is insane. It's not necessarily the most believable, but if you can suspend your disbelief and just enjoy it for what it is, which is a really cool action film with great action sequences and fight scenes, it is amazing. So that's going to be my spoiler-free review. Now, getting into spoilers, this is your warning. Okay? 3, 2, 1. Spoiler territory. So at the very end of this movie, John Wick dies, and that's it, from what I can understand. This is going to be the last John Wick film, presumably, and I think it's a great ending. I think this is a great send-off for John Wick. They did it beautifully, masterfully. I think it was the perfect ending. Not one of those endings where, yet again, John Wick gets away and he saves the day. It's so much better than just like, oh no, he died. Like, it's almost a good thing that he died. John Wick at this point is tired. John Wick is exhausted. He is not happy that he lost his wife, lost his dog, lost his car, has lost many friends. And so this is a great send-off for the character of John Wick, I think. I think it's a really beautiful ending to the franchise. It was a great way for him to go out. Also, this was just sad and interesting to me, or not interesting, but kind of like chilling. Sharon, who is played by Lance Reddick, who recently passed away in real life at the age of 60, his character dies at the opening of the movie, and I just was like, gosh, that is gut-wrenching. Like, they had to, do these scenes where they're talking about how much they miss him, how he was a friend, and like all of that can be translated to real life now, where he really is gone. And they did interviews where they talked about like how much they miss him and the emotional state that they were in and how it affected them. And I get it now. They were all really, really like heartbroken. Not that they wouldn't be if his character didn't die in the movie anyway, but like it's almost poetic, right? So I just thought that was interesting. I thought that was really interesting. It was a chilling moment in the movie, I would say, and it had me invested for sure. The villain is played by Bill Skarsgård, who is fantastic, like amazing. I haven't seen him in much other than It. He was Pennywise the Clown, but obviously being the son of Stellan Skarsgård, he inherited those acting chops. He is fantastic in this movie as the villain. I think he's probably my favorite villain. It's debatable, either him or the Russian mob boss from the first movie, but he's not much of a villain. He's almost like trying his hardest to avoid having to fight John Wick. This guy wants to take out John Wick, and not that the Russian mob boss didn't, but like this guy, his whole vendetta is against John Wick, and that's all he cares about is getting him. So as a villain, I think he was great. Bill Skarsgård was fantastic. There's this really great action sequence where they're at a poker table. They're forced into this poker game. There's a guy who is chasing John Wick down because he wants the bounty on his head, but he's not going to kill him until the bounty gets to a certain number, which I really like, that he's like following John Wick and almost protecting him, like actually protecting him at some moments, because he's like, no, you can't die on me yet. I'm waiting to get that bounty. Like, I want it to be higher, and then I'll kill you. And so him, John Wick, and then the character played by Donnie Yen, who is amazing, by the way. Yet again, another fantastic character by Donnie Yen, who is blind, a blind badass. Donnie Yen knocks it out of the park. His action sequences are some of the best in the movie, in my opinion. The fight scenes with him are awesome. Donnie Yen is great in this film. Donnie Yen, Keanu Reeves, John Wick, and this guy who's tracking him. I think he's just called the Tracker or Nobody in the movie. Doesn't have like an actual name. They're all forced into this poker game, and it's a really interesting sequence. Really great visuals. Like this whole scene is probably my favorite scene in the movie. And the guy who's forcing them to do this poker game, John Wick has to kill him and bring like his gold tooth back to these Russian mob boss people so they'll help him. And this is where he kills someone or uses something as a weapon that is like outrageous. He grabs one of the cards on the table and super quickly like slices the guy's neck with the card. And then he like throws it at another guy behind him and like cuts his neck open. And it's just so cool. Like I was wondering when the moment would happen, and that was it. And I was like, oh damn, like that was cool. That was worth the wait, or like that's what I was expecting. But also I didn't know what to expect, right? Like what was he gonna use this time? And it ends up being a deck of cards to kill people, which is so John Wick. It's just perfect. I was really glad that my expectations were met in that arena. I was going to be really bummed if it was just like he uses guns and knives and everything he's ever used to kill people. This, added another thing that we hadn't seen before. There's also a great scene where he uses nunchucks to fight people, and you can tell that Keanu Reeves really trained with nunchucks to do that scene. It is like a 10-minute long action sequence where he's fighting with nunchucks and a gun. He'll like swing the nunchucks around and beat people up, and then swing them around his neck, pull out the gun, kill some people, pull the nunchucks back off, start swinging them around, fight people, knock them to the ground, pull out the gun, bang, throws them back around his neck. Like, it's a great sequence. So, there's a lot of good moments in this movie. Too many to go over. I would say my second favorite action sequence, or possibly first, but I really do enjoy that poker table scene. It's such a great scene. There's a scene that is a few minutes long that's a full bird's eye view shot of the layout of this like apartment building complex, something. I don't know exactly what it is, that John Wick is fighting in. And you can see all of the enemies like coming in front of him and where he is. And he just takes them all out, obviously, but he does it in such a great fashion in a way that we've never seen before. That's what I mean when I say they've stepped it up for this movie. The bird's eye view shot, it's one long panning shot as he goes through this house, taking out people one by one by one, sometimes multiple at a time. It's just amazing. It's super cool. It was one of the greatest scenes in the whole franchise, in my opinion. And for that scene, they brought back the music from John Wick 1 when he's going to hunt down the kid, Yosef. And I really liked that. It was such a great moment to have the same music play from that scene when he's like going through this club. It's like a hypno club, and he's just tearing through guards and things like that, trying to get to Yosef. It was a great callback. The music really suited the scene, and it was such a cool, unique shot. One long shot of him just, bird's eye view. We're following him as he tucks and rolls and shoots people, and he's using like a shotgun that has dragon's breath ammo, which for those of you who don't know, dragon's breath lights people on fire. It's insane. It was such a cool action sequence, either my first or second favorite from the movie, but I'll have to watch it again. It's a real toss-up between that scene and the poker table scene. That whole sequence is also amazing. Great fights all across the board. The movie steps up the action to 11, sometimes to ridiculous points, but if you just can take off the, over-analyzing goggles and just accept it for what it is, which is a crazy action film, there are some amazing moments in here. Overall, this is my second favorite John Wick movie for sure. I would put it above the second and third. The first one is still my favorite. It's a classic. You can't go wrong with John Wick 1. And it's also a lot shorter, which a lot of people enjoy. It's only like an hour and 40 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes if you don't count the credits. So it's a quick, get in, get out kind of movie, but it has a great story. This movie is like super long, mostly action. I saw Jeremy Johns did a review where he said, I think John Wick only has about 10 lines. And yeah, like that pretty much sums it up. John Wick doesn't do a lot of talking in this movie. And when he does, it's a lot of, yeah, one liners. It's not a whole lot of like chit chat. So I do like that about this movie. Personally, that appeals to me, but I know some people it doesn't. But yeah, I just wanted to get this out there and tell you guys to all go see it. If you haven't seen the John Wick movies, start with John Wick 1. It's so good. One of my favorite series of all time, and I'm happy to say that because it's such a shocker. Like, I remember when it came out in 2014, and people thought it was like a crappy straight to DVD, like Nicolas Cage film, and I felt the same, to be honest. Like, I kind of was like, oh god, like they're doing a Keanu Reeves action film. Oh great, like what's that going to be? And it turned out to be one of the greatest action films I've ever seen. Like, John Wick 1 to me still holds up to this day, and it's because Keanu Reeves had to do a lot of his own stunts. He trained to learn like Krav Maga, karate, judo, and things like that, like to be able to do this film. And then he has just stepped it up. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for me. I give this movie like a solid 9 out of 10. I seriously think it's amazing. Not my favorite in the series, but probably my second favorite. And it's definitely a great final send-off for John Wick. But let me know if you guys saw it, what you thought of the movie down below. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.